Some they call it functional alcoholism, but if you know anything about Ben, he's got vision with precision, microphones and a tinkle of derision. You're about to hear what beer can be. It's time for Barley and me.
Welcome to Barley and Me. I'm your host, Ben Rice. It's episode 134. We're here today in our own home still, not on site, but for the first time in a long time, I am talking to brewers while drinking their beer, while they drink their beer, while our guest drinks their beer. We are here today, again, in our own homes with East Brother Beer Company out of Richmond, California, with brewers Paul Liszewski.
Hey, how you doing, all?
And Rob Lightner.
Hey, everyone.
And our special guest today, it's Amanda Glynn.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you guys all for joining me. I really appreciate it. So this question...
Pleasure.
So my first question used to be a lighthearted, easy softball question that I imagine now is not so much. So how's business at East Brother?
Yeah, boy, and this could take up the entire podcast.
Right.
Just one long answer. You know, I'll make it. It's like it's good. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's been a rough year, but we're hanging in there and we're making beer and selling beer. So, you know, I'll drink to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And for you, you've got the oatmeal stout. It looks like, Rob.
Yes.
And I'm a Bo Pills myself. And Amanda's got the Bo Pills. Paul, you are?
Yeah.
I'm actually drinking the pre-pro lager.
You son of a gun.
I have access to a lot of stuff at my fingertips right now.
Me too. But yeah, how has that been? Like, what kind of things have you guys had to do to make, like, to streamline processes, to expand when you can? What? How is this even working for you, or not working?
Yeah, it's I'm sure our story is not unique in terms of either manufacturers or breweries with a retail component. The ones that have, I think, suffered really a lot are the ones that are kind of taproom only models, or sell most of their beer over the counter, as they say. Fortunately, we have a taproom, which is great, and we totally missed it. It's now slowly coming back, but we also have a production, component where we've been putting beer in cans since day one. We bought a canning line. Thank God we did last year, actually in 2019.
Yeah.
So 2020 came around and we didn't have to rely anymore on a mobile canner. And so, needless to say, our draft business into bars and restaurants pretty much went to zero for the first few months of the lockdown. It's now coming back little by little, which is nice. But the can business really went up dramatically because everyone's going to, Bevmo and Whole Foods and everywhere else and buying their beer. God bless them. Thank you very much for supporting us that way. And we also, in the tap room, when we closed it down, we as they say, pivoted to a curbside model. So we immediately, built a little online store, and we were selling a good amount of cases for a while there. People just come in, and we had a little drive-through in the parking lot. And, but now we've sort of, the tap room is open. It's only open outdoors. We'll be opening indoors soon. But it's been like I said, it's been super challenging, and we're looking forward to a time when, we can sort of get beyond this and get back to a little bit of normalcy.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially in a town like Richmond, which really doesn't have it's not really known for beer.
Yeah, right. Richmond, but Richmond's great. Richmond's one of those cities where I grew up in Oakland, and Oakland has experienced, kind of a renaissance and a lot of energy and excitement, and incredibly, diverse population, an incredibly motivated, prideful, creative population. And actually Richmond, if you look at it, it has a lot of the same characteristics. And we feel like Richmond, maybe a few years behind Oakland, but we feel it's on the same path.
Yeah,
We're excited
absolutely.
about being there.
Yeah, 100%. And where do you feel you would be if you hadn't been fortunate enough to have gotten that canning line back in 2019?
we'd be fucked. You said we could swear, so
Yeah.
No, seriously. Like, I mean, you could talk about that, Paul. But I mean, we had a mobile canner coming, and I'm sure we're canning multiple times a week. It would be very, very difficult to produce an amount that we've been doing.
Yeah,
we wouldn't have been able to keep up with production levels. We're somewhere in the neighborhood of 400,000 cans this year, and if it wasn't for cans, like Rob was saying, we'd be dead in the water. We would need the mobile canning line here at least twice a week to keep up with where we are.
Yeah, I think I've talked about this a few times during shutdown because I've been able to, because I'm doing it via Zoom, talk to breweries that are not in California as much. And like up in Oregon, they had the brew pub model. Everybody had their own canning line for years, and they were like totally ready for this. But California, it's been very much, you sell on draft and like get a mobile canning line in when you can, and you sell what you can through that. And then this hit is like everything changed. And the people that had that stuff were in a much better position. And no, thank you.
Yeah, the complicating factor was supply as well of cans.
Yeah.
The forums, the brewery forums, which is lit up constantly with who's got 12-ounce cans, who's got crowlers, who's got ends, who's got pack techs. That there's, I don't know if you're aware, there's a giant aluminum can shortage right now globally.
Yes.
I mean, the billions. So we've been facing that as well. But yeah, it's been a multifaceted challenge.
Yeah. And how does that feel, knowing that you've got this one thing that you kind of have figured out as best you can, and then but soon cans will be gone?
Yeah. Well, we in the past,
not for us.
so we were stressing about it about 4 or 5 months ago, and we had placed orders to move from this, getting a little down into the weeds, but when we do cans, when we start out, you sleeve cans. You use sleeved cans because you can buy them in much lower quantities, but they're much more expensive. So if you can buy larger quantities, printed cans, the colors and the font is ever printed right on the can, you can save a lot of money, but you have to buy a lot.
Yeah.
So we sort of took the plunge, and in the past, I'd say 3 months, we've had 5 truckloads of cans show up, which is, what is that? It's like 750,000 cans.
Oh my
goodness. It's and we actually can't even store them on site anymore. We're renting some space from another tenant in our building, but we do have a supply now. So it's like, of all the things you can't sleep about, that I was able to cross that off my list.
One less bunker to worry about.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Then you add ends and pack techs and flats and a whole other litany of things that add to the stress level, but.
Yeah.
We're in good shape moving forward.
Yeah.
So suffice it to say, we stress about a lot of things, the making, the packaging, the selling of beer, but coming on a podcast like this and talking about it is super fun.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's like, oh God, all I have to do is talk. Yep, I can do that.
Yeah, just for once. It's like, now tell me your plan of action for the thing that you learned today that you have to overcome. No.
Yeah.
No, it's terrible. But Amanda, so yes. You, big beer nerd.
Yes.
Doctor, D&D yes. player, beer maker on occasion at local yes. places. So how has this been for you?
I mean, it's really interesting. So I teach at Sac State, and we've been completely online. And with everything being closed, I don't really leave my house that much. It's been really interesting. And I've been missing going to my local beer places and breweries. I'm glad things have started to open up. But it's been really, really weird. I would go out, at least once a week, over to some local place and just take the evening, chill out, relax, and kind of felt like I've been in a cave for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. And right before this hit, we were already in discussions of doing an episode, and I was like, hey, where do you want to go? And you had said East Brother was like your top choice.
Thank you, Amanda.
So why would that have been?
I'm really trying to not just, go to my local places, but also like see more of the like Bay Area breweries, because whenever I go out there, I usually go to like the Rare Barrel and Field Work, which I love, but I really want to get to some of these other places that have opened up recently being in the past few years. Since I've been living here since like 2012, I feel like I haven't seen enough. And especially like being involved in the local scene, I want to be able to tell people like, hey, like this stuff going on out here is pretty cool and you should check it out as well.
Yeah. The beer boom of like 2012-ish, disastrous for me. I haven't even, like, I'm in Sacramento, I do this beer podcast, I've got 130 episodes, I'm still like, there's now over a dozen breweries in my area I haven't even stepped foot into, like, ever. It's like, oh, you didn't record an episode. I'm like, no, I literally have not been there. I can't find the time for it. And I'm like, I should get into the Bay more, but then I'm ignoring my hometown. It's like a whole thing. Which, that's a like little small quibble. Oh no, I can't go to every brewery. There's too many great breweries. Only so much time in the day. But but this has really sucked because I'm like, I can't go to these places and I really want to.
Good problems to have.
Yeah, it's a good time to be a beer drinker, that's for sure.
Yeah, totally gone.
Well, Ben, we are open now, so we're open outdoor. Like I said, we'll open indoor soon. I hope soon, because like I said, it was like 38 degrees when I woke up this morning, and I think little by little we're either gonna have to get fire pits or blankets, or build those sort of whatever parklet tents outside. But the good thing is we've got a big space, big warehouse, a lot of air movement, big roll up doors. So we hope that people, we're trying to be safe. It's really tough. It's like we're trying to do the right thing, but trying not to go out of business at the same time. So, hopefully with our big open space and fans and open doors, people will feel comfortable. And of course, the tables are very far away from each other, and again, try to allow people to go out into the world, but stay safe at the same time.
Yeah. And I remember when the first reopen happened, like, there's a lot of issue with like crowd control, so to speak.
Yeah.
You're like, do this thing, and people are like, okay, but then you get a few drinks in them, and they start wandering, and you're like, hey, get out of there. And so I tried it. I was like, I'm gonna go do it. I'm like, oh, didn't care for that last part, and stopped. And so I've recently been like, I'm gonna try it again. And people have been a lot more respectful of like, hey, you just stay to your crew. If you recognize somebody, go over there and stay, but like keep your distance from, everywhere else. Keep your 6 feet. So hopefully this time it takes. I'll say.
Yeah, I mean it's hard. You come to a tap room or public house or whatnot, and we're used to that interaction and being able to float around and meet people and share the experience. And now we're kind of sequestered to our tables. So it is a little bit of a change, but as we get more used to this new normal and going out, we kind of make ways, figure ways to make it enjoyable for us and enjoy that experience.
Yeah. And it's always going to be a learning process, but like, as long as there's enforcement, it should be pretty easy for everybody to kind of get along and get what they need, whether that is food, drinks, communication, conversation, good time. Like, I love talking to strangers. Super fun. But it's not 100% necessary to do, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But
yeah, one of those things that we're going to have to put on the shelf for a little while, we've been, to your point, like we opened up, it was clear that we didn't quite do it the right way, and we suffered the consequences. I mean, now looking nationally, it's like out of control. So we're learning, and hopefully we're like learning the lessons and responding accordingly, and, buckling down a little while longer until we can actually find a way to get through this.
Yeah. But we've talked enough about this terrible thing that is affecting you and your ability to survive. Let's do something positive. Is there anything great going on in the world of East Brother, in the world of Rob Lightner, in the world of Paul Liszewski?
Oh, God, so many things.
Yeah.
So many things. What beer are we coming out with next, Paul? We got, is it Baltic Porter?
Baltic Porter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was just sampling some of that earlier today, right from the tank. It's delicious. Nice roasty, kind of slight chocolatey, nice weather, cold weather lager, part of our 4-part lager series. So we'll be canning that probably tomorrow or the next day. And kegs and draft available this weekend in the tap room. So we're pretty excited about it. It's our oldest series beer. It's the one that kind of kicked off the whole lager series for 3 years ago. Wow.
So I feel like I love a Baltic Porter. Amanda, I don't know how you feel about a Baltic Porter.
Love them.
Love them. There's a lot of people who are like, what's the difference? Baltic Porter, Porter, Stout. What? Let's educate 3 listeners right now. Baltic Porter, what are we looking at?
Baltic Porter is one of these weird styles that originated in London, England. So it was England's a very ale-focused brew style. And then as the Baltics adopted this, basically adopted the English style porter, and having more accessibility to cold weather, they were using, and the German influence, they were using lager yeast. So, made this really kind of clean, crisp, rich, chocolatey, roasty, ale counterpart almost. So it is kind of a unique beer. A lot of, you can still make a Baltic Porter as an ale, but the flavor profile really shines when you kind of suppress those yeast flavors and let the malt shine in this beer. But it's kind of a perfect winter slammer. It's really easy to drink and just really rich and flavorful, and it's everything that you associate with kind of dark beers, campfire, warm, and savor the moment.
Yeah. Oh man. And like you said, they're more slammable. You can have a few of them and they won't be as heavy on you. They're not as high ABV, typically speaking,
Mm-hmm.
although beer is still beer. Brewer's going to brew. You're going to give them that big whop if you want to. And just be like, that's a Baltic Porter. Totally. Super flavor. So you said it's a series. So I have to ask the question, because this is 2020 craft beer we're talking. Are you doing any flavor additions? Anything like that?
No, we're only using barley, mops, water, yeast, in all of our beers. We do use some Belgian candy sugar in one of them. But we're sticking to the traditional ingredients and coaxing all those flavors out without adding flavors or additives or donuts or gourds or all the other, stuff. I don't want to say we're bucking the trend. We're just making really traditional classic examples of beer. And, as a brewer and as going through my training, the first thing is, you drink with your eyes. And when you look at a beer, it's supposed to be clear with this nice, beautiful, foamy head on it. So that's the style path that we've been following and traveling down. And there are just so many great examples of kind of classic traditional beers that we can draw from that, we don't need to do the, trend du jour, the seltzers or pastry stouts and hazies and all that weird stuff.
Do you hear how I said that? Pastry stouts.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to dive
I might have a Twizzler sugar high going on too. So
yeah, when we move to paper straws, I'm like, why are we doing this? We have Twizzlers, we have Red Vines. We don't need to have paper straws.
Exactly. And when you're done, you eat them.
Yeah.
Win-win.
They add to flavor. You're great. You're doing good. It's fine. And you need the sugar high because you're just exhausted from everything all the time.
Yeah.
So, Paul, we have your opinion on pastry stouts. Amanda, how do you feel about this trend of pastry beers?
I mean, I like it, but I also just like dessert and stuff. So for me, like, yeah, I'll drink it, but I also really appreciate just a regular, like, classic stout, which seems lately to be kind of hard to find.
Yeah, nearly
because
impossible.
everybody wants to do the pastry stouts. They're popular. I think they're delicious, and people are going to buy them. But it's very hard to just find a regular kind of stout that doesn't have something in it.
Yeah,
and sometimes that's what you want.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't occasionally want a 13.6 piece of cake that happens to be liquid?
Had one of those a couple days ago. It was delicious.
Yeah, and look, we're not begrudging anyone making the beers they make, and nor denying that they are popular for sure. I mean, whether it's big fruity, hazy, juicy milkshake IPAs that are fruit, or fruited sours or pastry stouts. I mean, there's a lot of trendy stuff, and like anything else, some's good, some's bad, and any product category always has people that are pushing the envelope, innovating, experimenting, trying new things, and beer being a high engagement, high passion category, there's going to be people who love that. It's great. I like a hazy IPA as much as anyone else. But as Paul said, there's something about, even, from way back, we just really love the classic styles and doing them in a very traditional way. And it's funny, like, so the Bo Pils is our best seller, and everybody knows what a Pilsner is. It's a beautiful style, and people oftentimes think lager and they think light lager. But within lager, and one of the reasons we did the lager series is there's an incredible diversity of styles within that. Baltic Porter is a great example.
Yeah.
Nobody even knows that's a lager, right?
Yeah.
But you can go Maibach, right? I mean, what is a Maibach? People don't really know that either, and that's a beautiful style. It's not a big syrupy Bach, but it's not a super crisp lager either. It's got the crispness of lager, but it offers a lot. It offers, and then if you do it right, it's a beautifully balanced beer. So within lagers, there's a lot of experimentation we're doing, and we feel like we love those beers, and hopefully there's a component of education in the market as well in terms of introducing people to those styles that are classic and might otherwise be interpreted as trendy. So.
Yeah, plus you said education for the people that maybe don't understand lagers, but also for a lot of beer aficionados, at some point you stop drinking a 9% IPA, a 14% stout, and you're like, I just want something well-made and light. You're like, I got you. We've got the hookup here at East Brothers. Not a problem.
Yeah. More than one, or, it's 2 9% beers. I know where I am with my evening. But, line up a bunch of 4.5%, 5% beers in front of me. I hang like I'm 20.
Yeah. I probably have 3 of those at this point.
Yeah. But, back to, the pastry stout, we have an oatmeal stout, and the flavor profile with that of kind of roast and chocolate and coffee, and it's still only, a 5.4% ABV beer. And, it's something that you don't have to reserve for a cold San Francisco evening. It's, it sells very well at, one of our local ballparks in the middle of the summer. If you're looking for that flavor, it's there, and you don't need to overwhelm your senses or, get shit-faced drunk off of, 13%, big beer. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the other thing that I really appreciate about, like, the regular, like, non-adjuncted stouts is they aren't as high in alcohol usually. I mean, some of them are, obviously, but sometimes I want a dark beer, but I don't want to get shit-faced drunk off of one. Yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah, I think people, going back kind of to the classic dark beer style, Guinness, which everyone is familiar with, that's really not a very high ABV beer compared to, a lot of the imperial stouts and the pastry stouts that are out on the market today. That beer is filling because it is kind of, there's some viscosity and heaviness to it. But, it's, it's only about a 5% beer.
Yeah, I think it's like 4.5.
Yeah. And then when you get it in Ireland, I think it's even less. It's, kind of their day drinker, it's like, oh, I'm going to go to the pub. I'm going to have a Guinness and I'm going to drink 20 of them and go back to work.
Yeah. And
kind of like a brewer.
And here's what always makes me laugh about pastry stouts, because I'm a jerk. I remember when I was younger, like 3 years ago, let's call it 3-4 years ago, people were like, oh, an adjunct lager, gross. It's made with rice. It's not even good grain. This is cheap and like useless. You shouldn't drink it. But this adjunct stout, though, yeah, you could throw any kind of adjunct into a stout, and I'm going to pay a premium for that.
That's right. We don't use corn, but we use donuts.
Like this weird turn where it was like the thing you should never do, and then like, why wouldn't you do this? It's such a weird twist. I don't know. That's just the thing that always strikes me as odd. And I don't know if you have any.
Well, there was a brewing reason for rice and corn and other adjuncts, right? I mean, there was a reason based on the 6-row malt that was being used, and excess protein. So like we got to balance it out. This kind of stuff. So, whereas this is more, hey, what can we do? What can we do that's interesting, and that's you can talk about. And hey, again, it works.
Yeah, there's always new science out there. That's the beautiful. Like I remember. When I first started this, people were like, you can't put bacon in beer. And then somebody's like, I figured out how you can put bacon in beer and not have it be oily and weird. And they're like, great, let's put bacon in beer. That sounds wonderful.
So what was the one that, wasn't it, did Oscar Blues, didn't they come out with a mustard beer?
Yes.
Right? I saw it and I thought it was like a spoof. Like, okay, that's somebody it was like an internet meme. But I'm pretty sure they actually did come out with a beer with.
Right? I remember seeing that.
Yeah, someone just did a buffalo wing beer.
Yeah.
Oh. Like, why?
I was just thinking about that. Yeah.
I'll take a mustard beer over a chicken beer.
I love wings, but you know what? I'm going to eat my wings and drink my beer separately. Thank you.
Yeah.
It might be good to marinate meat in, maybe. But yeah, I don't know why you'd want to drink it.
Beer's a very good marinade. I have no problem with using beer as marinades, but yeah, I don't think it needs to go back upstream or downstream or whatever it is,
Actually, last Thanksgiving, I marinated our turkey in our red lager. And it came out great. And it was from that guy. God, I can't remember his name. It was like the beer chef or something. Like he does all these recipes with beer and Thanksgiving the big time. And he's got all these beer specific, brining. It was brining basically, right? Red lager and beer and a bunch of all the other stuff, salt and juniper berries and whatever. But it came out great.
Nice.
Yeah, I know I drank a lot of beer reheating our Whole Foods turkey dinner. So.
Yeah, brine yourself. I got you. So, to kind of get to know you guys a little bit better and also go back to the terror that is the current world, what do you guys do for fun outside of beer to kind of while away the half hour you have a day?
Is there something other than beer?
I don't know. Sometimes there's not, and that's totally fine. If you're going home and you're like, I got a little brew set up in my garage, that's fine. Knock it out.
I do have a brew set up in the garage, but I have a 4-year-old. So a lot of my time is spent chasing someone with about 30 billion more times energy than I do at any given moment. But yeah, I'm in the garage wrenching. I love motorcycles. I love cars and trucks and greasy, dirty things. But most of my time outside of work is devoted to my daughter and trying to wear her out so she can go to bed at a reasonable hour.
What about you, Rob? What are you up to?
The past since COVID, it's been a lot of work, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But trying to balance things. I actually have 2 kids, but they're both out. One's in college and one's like out of college. So we've passed that stage. Just the classic like puttering in the garden, that kind of thing on the weekend. Get out, be one with the dirt.
Oh yeah.
Get away from the laptop. Going out on walks, bike rides, trying to get some fresh air. but it's such a weird thing, like I was on the phone with a guy today who lives in Texas, and he went to the Texas game, like college football, right, on the weekend.
Uh-oh.
And it's 25% capacity. And he was just talking about how it was weird, because normally there's 110,000 people in that stadium, and just all the energy, and everyone's excited and hopping. And it's like, there's like maybe 25,000 people, and everyone's far apart, and it's just weird, So it was like that, just acknowledging we're in this space of just kind of waiting around for it to get back,
Yeah, the energy is just a slight buzz as opposed to a dull roar.
Yeah.
But and then Amanda, what are you getting up to?
I have gotten into a lot of things like knitting and crochet since the beginning, since it's something I can, do inside. I've been cross-stitching for a while. I'm working on the Super Mario World game map.
Okay.
I've been working on for almost 4 years now. And this thing is going to be like a meter by a meter when it's done, over 250,000 stitches.
Oh my God.
And I'm like halfway done with it right now. But well, you'll see this on Zoom. Obviously, you can't hear. I knitted my best friend's corgi a sweater. So I've been doing stuff like that because it's using your hands and not being on the computer all the time, since my job is literally entirely on the computer now.
Yeah. Ugh. And then you're also doing D&D. You told me specifically we cannot do Thursday.
Yes. Yeah, that's game night, playing D&D in a campaign. This campaign's been going on for about 2 years, but I've been in other ones, and we're also playing other games. Played in a superhero-themed RPG role-playing game on Friday evening, which is super fun. Just starting that one, but there's a whole lot of creativity involved. There's a little bit more flexibility than in something like D&D. I still love D&D, but I'm enjoying the differences in these different games that I'm playing. Because
you kind of get to create the world that you want to create there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there are terrible consequences, and sometimes there are no consequences, and sometimes it's fine. Or good.
Yeah, and this game has a lot of that built in. It's like, you can do this, but there's going to be a consequence. And I'm like, oh, okay, but then you kind of get to decide what the consequence is. Like, I like this aspect. Like, you can do it, but you also have to figure out what gets screwed up for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my friend Monique has been like a big gaming nerd her entire life, and she's always kind of struggled to find her footing in like finding careers. And so last November, she like went to like a conference on the East Coast just to like volunteer to help run it, and ended up like using her time to talk to and make connections with other people in the gaming industry. And now she has a full-fledged career. Like, she works for like 4 different companies. She's got like multiple YouTube series that are doing really well. I'm like, fuck yeah. Like,
nice.
I've loved it forever, but she's always had a struggle with like, where do I go in this world? I really love games. How do I make it a career? And then she found a way, and it's very cool.
That's perfect. Yeah, I also have a friend who's in the industry, and she absolutely loves it.
I don't know. I should point out that I used to work for Sega.
Oh,
kind of
nice.
Kind of old school. But yeah, I know what RPG is.
The last system I was ever good at video games on, Sega Genesis. I was like, I can do 2 to 3 buttons. I can make that jump. 3 to 6 buttons, I was out. I'm like, I can't. No.
Yeah, I know. Once as the consoles got more complicated, the button configurations just got a little over the top. Like, I could beat my son in Madden when he was like 6, and then it was like 8 years old, and he's killing me. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. No,
cannot take it.
It's too much. They're like,
I started with the joystick and 1 button.
Yeah.
So, and arguably with just the little spinner thing to go back and, but yeah, I come from tech. I think Rob also came from tech. So, I've worked with my share of, we just call them Uber geeks, and, D&D is, just as relevant in their lives today as it was, 40 years ago when it was started. So yeah, I have a soft spot for anyone that can mention D&D and know what it is, you're like, oh, D&D. I'm like, where's my 20-sided die?
I have so many dice. So many.
Yeah.
I think I just like hoarding them. Like I just want all of them. I don't need all of them. But
there's always, there's the one for the right moment, and then you also have the ones tied to those right moments, so they're kind of keepsakes and whatnot. So yeah, you need a 20-sided die for every occasion.
Yeah,
every day of the year.
Do you want to be somewhere where you have it but don't have access to it? Is that a world you want to live in? You're like, oh, I wish I had this die with me, but I left it at home. No, you got to have them all. Just in case. You never know what the world's going to throw at you. That's the whole point of the game.
Gotta keep
kind
it
of like
set in your
COVID.
bag.
If I roll 18 or over, we can open again.
That's how you decide.
That's right.
It's like, oh, sorry, they rolled 20 defense. My mistake.
Yeah. Give me some charisma, please.
Yeah. I need these sales. Yeah. So you guys both come from tech, got into beer. This is a story as old as time, as far as I can tell. Tech guys getting into beer. What is it? What do you think it is? Like, it's so many tech guys be like, yeah, I'm gonna start a brewery. I'm gonna get into brewing.
You want to take that, Paul?
Not with a 50-foot.
Not really. I'll just lead in that I hate working at a desk. Working in a cube, it's, I started my career and you worked your butt off to get into the big cube, the corner cube or whatever. And then you get into the corner cube and then you realize that corner cube every year it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And it wasn't for me. And, I got into home brewing and, my weekends became, making 5 gallons of beer every weekend and then 10 gallons and then 15 and 20 and,
25.
Yeah, it was just, then I went into barrels and whatnot. And it just got to a point where, you have to follow your dreams or your passion and, what's going to make you happy ultimately in life. And for me, it was brewing, and every day, as many challenges we face on, any week, any day, it's like, there's always an issue. But it's an issue that I welcome, and we can overcome it and figure it out. And I'd rather be doing that and then trying to figure out how to get more people to click through to your site or, better protect themselves from viruses and, antivirus security software, fun stuff.
Yeah.
When I left, it was like, no one wants to buy security software. Everyone wants to buy beer. So
that's true. Or they'll buy it once a year versus every couple days.
Yeah. And then when you do buy it, you're like, oh, for crying out loud, it's $30. Jeez. And if I can drop $30 in beer, I'm going to have a good weekend or night, or we'll go with weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Every time I see the pop up like, hey, you need to renew your subscription, I'm like, do I want to look for a new provider? Do I want to pay this money?
Yeah.
Whatever. Fine. I'll do it. But no one's happy. You've made no one in your life happy, except for they get hit by a virus, like, I'm protected. That's like and then they forget. They're like, whatever. And then it's like, oh, you need to reboot, and like, I was doing something, and it's just they hate you again.
Yeah,
it's really the world. That's just how the world works here. It's what have you done for me lately? And for beer, oftentimes you've made somebody very happy, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, when times suck, you drink beer. When times are great, you drink beer. So
beautiful.
Yeah, and it's kind of like what you're saying, Ben. It's like people. It's not I don't want to say it's not a high bar, because I mean what we're doing is I feel really proud of what we're doing. It's not easy to do it, to Paul's point. But when you have, we're producing merely a pint of beer, but people drink it and they go, oh, that's pretty good. Like, and every now and then, let people email our website and they're like, oh, I just had your pre-pro lager. Nice job. Like, that's it. They'll take the time to write an email to our website, and I forward it, and we forward it around to the team. It feels so damn good. Oh my God, great. We brought someone a little happiness, It's very gratifying, honestly.
Yeah. And that's really just for anybody listening at home. That's how you can kind of help people right now. If you've got the money, go buy a beer from somebody that you appreciate making beer. Tell them you like their beer. Tell friends you like their beer. Like, so they can go buy it, try it out. Do that stuff. Like, if you have the ability to do it, to help somebody, do it. Beer or any other thing.
Yeah, we just started a Beer Thy Neighbor program where, when you do your curbside pickup or buy a pint, you can basically buy the next pint for a total stranger. So, imagine walking into your favorite brew pub or whatever, sitting down, and, that first pint you're going to have is on someone else. And, hey, that's awesome. You feel good.
Yeah.
Feeling good's good.
Yeah, and if you can do that in a Starbucks line where everyone's like, oh, I'll get the next one, let's just do it at breweries. What's the big deal? One person's like, I'll drop $6.50 here. The next person comes in, gets a beer that they want. Like, oh, I appreciate that. I'll get it for the next one. And then you're letting people take chances on the beers that they maybe were like, I wouldn't pay for this, but I'll try it out for free. Like, I'll do that. If I enjoy it, I'll pass it on. Like, I used to do music reviews back in the day. And there's this band, they just reunited to do a live show, Mr. Bungle. Anybody Mr. Bungle fans in the room?
Wait, you froze up for a second.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Am I back? Am I gone? Oh, no.
Now he's back.
Jesus Christ. That has never happened. This entire time, that has never happened.
Well, look, everything is still 2020, so everything is still going to happen.
It's
right?
true.
Like, whatever hasn't happened, it's going to happen.
All right, where did I leave off?
Lost a book.
You said you used to do
music reviews.
Okay, great. So I used to do music reviews, and back in the day, you guys, does anybody, did this band reunited back like last week? Mr. Bungle? Any Mr. Bungle fans in the audience? Nobody knows them. That's
Heard
fine.
of them, but no, I'm not a.
Right.
Couldn't say I'm a fan.
So it's Mike Patton from Faith No More. He's got another band that's like weirder.
Okay.
And so I was like, I would like to hear that, but I don't want to pay for it. And then I won like a free CD through like a radio station, right? And so I'm like, I'm going to go get a Mr. Bungle album because they're like $18 back then. And then I'm like, oh shit, Mr. Bungle is wonderful. I love this. And then I just went off on this like giant tangent of music. Like just, it opened up so many things to me because it was free back when you couldn't just get it for free. But beer will never be something you can stream online. So the point is, this is a great idea because if you can get people to experience something they otherwise wouldn't have taken a chance on and they love it, that's catapulting the entire industry and your brewery forward. Long way to that. I think I got there.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's funny. I think one of the silver linings of what we've experienced this year is that people maybe, well, the current, political climate notwithstanding, let's not go there, but just people in general, no matter where you come from, I think there's a little bit of, a little more kindness, maybe, like a little more, willingness to think about other people, like, and we experienced this at the start where we couldn't pay our bills because our revenue almost dropped to zero. And I spent a lot of time contacting every single vendor, every single creditor, banks, everyone to say, hey, can you work with us? And almost without fail, it was almost like Christmas time. People were like, yes, we're going to, how people get super nice at the holidays and then they're like back to being assholes in January. Like almost, it felt like the holidays. And I think that, people are tired and everything and exhausted by all this, but I think people still are a little more empathetic towards the people around them. So we felt like that was a good way to embrace that and to be a catalyst for it and give people an outlet. Like, oh, I can buy a beer for someone else. Yeah, I'll do that because that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
So we're excited about doing it.
Yeah. And I'm going to go back through some things we talked about before because I feel like we can do it. I was talking about what you guys were doing outside of beer to kind of keep yourself occupied, make yourselves happy. We talked about Amanda's thing with, cross stitching and D&D. Rob, you mentioned gardening, big thing. I just bought a house with like an incredible garden. I don't know what I'm doing. What basic steps to a giant garden when you have been living in apartments your entire life? Anything I should know to get a?
I'm the wrong person to ask, dude. I'll give you my. You can send some questions to my wife. She'll help. She's like I just go. She goes, dig over there, and I dig over there. Like, do that. Yeah, do that. That's kind of my role out there.
Have you seen any patterns emerging? Like every third Saturday, I'm in this area.
Yeah, we actually built a bunch of planter boxes. We had my son and his friend build them for us because they're like hardy young men.
Cheap
and
labor.
They can do that stuff, and they were pretty cheap. We're actually I'm just looking at them right now out in my backyard. We planted a bunch of stuff and the birds came and ate all the little sprouts came up. Mm-hmm. They ate them all. They took all the seeds and all the sprouts. So that's where we are right now. Like, perfect. You don't even want to be taking advice from me.
Well, that's where I'm at right now. I got birds. I got squirrels. They're coming in. They're taking everything. It's fine. I know. It's not fine. Whatever. Who cares?
They're mischievous little buggers.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you?
After 10 years of trying to make our backyard work, we hired a landscaper pre-COVID 1 year ago, and grass, like garden planters, everything done. And I just need to maintain, and it's been our saving grace. Like I haven't owned a lawn grass this nice in my entire life, and it's been a godsend. I'd say save up the money, hire someone, and make it the way you want, and then it's just a maintenance game, because up to then it's just backbreaking, manual, never-ending labor. And what should we do this weekend? Just
tear stuff up.
Save it to the professionals.
I did consider that. I did definitely maybe we just get somebody else to do this and then we just reap the benefits. But I'm like, also, I should probably learn it. I should learn a skill. We've got the time. I can do the research. I have done no research. I have done no reading. I have done no YouTube videos. I have done nothing. I'm like, that looks like a weed. I'm going to pull it. And that's been about the length that I've gone to. I've got my watering system finally figured out. So we got the water down. It's fine. All right, Rob, you don't have any tips for gardening. That's fine. What are you growing? What are you trying to grow?
We've got some trees, like apple trees. We have an apple tree. We got a lemon. We got lime. Got some blueberries, strawberries. But in the planter boxes, we're planning on growing, herbs and maybe some winter like squash and some lettuces and things. That's kind of the plan. But yeah, like I said, those were stunted very, very quickly. And we're now like, what do we do?
Great. So we're in the same boat, and now we can feel like we're not failures because
totally.
It's totally normal to not know what you're doing with nature because it's better than you, and it will always outsmart you.
Do what you know and leave the other stuff to professionals.
And then Paul, you're tinkering around in your garage. You got your motorcycles, things like that. Now, here's a question: have you ever built a motorcycle or other vehicle from scratch?
Not from scratch, but I've torn. I'm actually on another project, down to the frame, rewire, just basically rebuilding from scratch. I like older BMW Airheads and older motorcycles, and most of them are at least 30, if not 40 years old now. So it just keeps my mind off of other things, and
So are you doing a lot of maintenance, just keep it in good running condition, make sure things aren't wrong with it, give it a little polish? What are you doing?
No, it's more tear it down, fix all the leaks, clean it up, make it. I'm not looking for the museum piece. I think motorcycles and cars should be driven.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're not building something that you can enjoy and not think twice about going out and enjoy, why bother? It's kind of when I was, I was a home brewer initially, and if I wasn't brewing beer that I was going to drink, then why bother? Or share and let other people enjoy. It's you do things to do and enjoy and to get the use of. If I want to go to a museum, I'll go to a museum, or a car dealership and see, the latest whatever. I'll go to a car dealership and see whatever, but, drive it, abuse it, enjoy it, share it, whatever.
Yeah. So how does it feel when you're like, I think this project's done, I'm going to go for a ride? How does that make you feel when you spent like months working on this thing? And you get your first ride.
It's oh my God, it actually works and I didn't die. But it's also, it's bittersweet. He's like, yeah, I got this done. And I'm like, damn, now what's the next thing? What's the next thing I'm going to take apart, clean up and curse over and whatnot. It's, ironically, I never have enough time in the garage, but finding time to ride or go out for a drive is a lot harder in life right now than I care to be. So even if I go home tonight and turn 3 screws 4 times, I'll feel a lot better than, I'm going to go suit up and go for a ride because, I'm going to want to do 50, 100, 200 miles in a clip and won't be satisfied until I get that.
Do you ever, and this is just because when I was a kid, my stepdad built kit cars from scratch, like just build them up. And then when they weren't at all street safe, would take them out with me as a passenger. Do you ever get a motorcycle like, hey, it's close, we'll take it out just to see what it does without very key components?
Things weren't as close as I'd like them to be, and I've had some pucker moments. But now it's okay. I'm going to test the brakes. I'm going to start applying brakes halfway down the block rather than where you would think, oh, I will stop now. And it's like, I'm going to try to stop now. And if I can stop now, I'll stop then too. But yeah, there's, I do live in a city, and if I go through any of the intersections close to my house, I will probably die if I don't try to stop, but at least I made an effort. And,
Yeah.
I haven't died yet, knock on wood.
Right. This story stems only from the time that he was making a Cobra and decided to, let's go around the block real quick with the seats not screwed in. The doors had no latches, no paint, and we were going around the block, and we're on a fairly busy street. It's Seattle, Washington at the time. And make the first turn, make the second turn, third turn, no brakes. Hit this turn in a Cobra. And it's the longest part of the block, so zooming down it. So we're probably going 45, just no brakes, just... Had to slam the turn, like doors swing wide open, and the seat slides forward.
Oh my God!
And we were fine.
You poop yourself, and then you laugh hysterically, and then you're like, should we drive this back and try to fix this?
We're almost home at this point. Might as well. This is the most likely point where we die. That was the busiest street, of the turns. So we made it through this one. We can make it through the rest of them.
That's right.
So I was like, yeah, I know, I got a story for this one. I know how building stuff in garages works. I need to admit that I learned nothing. I was sent down there to hold the flashlight, and I had no interest, and I regret it every day. I was like, I could know this. This person did this all the time, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, working on motorcycles, it's like you need to be somewhat precise. And, it kind of follows into kind of my brewing philosophy where you need to be somewhat precise most of the time. And, you need to be really precise to feel safe all the time. It's kind of made it more difficult for me to work in cars because I think the level of safety in cars versus a motorcycle, you wrap yourself around a tree in a car, you're probably fine. You wrap yourself around a tree in a motorcycle, your wife's going to be really pissed. So,
at least.
At least.
Well, I'm glad to hear that Paul goes home and spends his time actually doing those sorts of mechanically oriented things, because a good amount of time at the brewery is doing that. I mean, you're on your laptop a lot, Paul. You say you don't like being on the front of the laptop, but there is a diversity, right? I mean, you're also fixing stuff at the same time. And my partner Chris, who was the other co-founder of Beast Brother, I think he and Paul are cut from the same cloth. You're asking, it goes back to that tech question you had, like what kind of mind is it? I think there's a certain kind of mind you have a predisposition towards building and fixing things. And that's really what breweries are. You got to build it, and then it breaks constantly, and you got to fix it, right? So brewing is chemistry, but there's, and of course there's brewers brewing the beer that are engaged in chemistry, but there's a lot of mechanical stuff going on there at the same time. So I'm glad Paul's not tiring of doing it while he's here.
He just for listeners, he has left the room. He's like, I haven't tired of it. I'm kind of tired.
I'm done.
I'm joking.
I quit. I'm done.
So this is just kidding. So yeah, I think it's important that everybody has like a balance in their world, and it's like, oh, this is great. I know everybody's experience. I'm terrible at D&D. I'm terrible at gardening, and I'm terrible at mechanical stuff. So I've got all kinds of failures. I truly despise D&D games, and it's my fault. I'm not mad at other people. I was like, it's just
not for you.
Not cut out for it.
You're great at podcasts, though.
That's sure. We'll take that. I'm like, I enjoy doing this, and people keep saying yes like fools, so I'll keep doing it.
So you've done like 130 something, 150?
Yeah, it's at like 142.
How'd you get into this?
Oh, how did I get into this? So I also do stand-up comedy. I always like to do things and be mediocre at them. In the Sacramento scene, I was the craft beer guy. That's what I'll call it. Everybody else would call it the drunk, which was pretty true the first year or so. But then I've been like, I was young and stupid. Anyway, so I was like a big craft beer guy. I was always trying to get people to try beers and talk about beers, and so one of my friends was like, you should do like a funny beer blog or something. And I was like, beer's not funny. It's good, and it's science, and it's important, and like I love it, and it's not funny. You're dumb. And then I saw that podcasts were a thing that people listen to that I did not when I started. I did not listen to podcasts. And I'd listened to a few beer podcasts, and I'm like, these are all the same. I can probably do this differently. And I had an idea to where I'd go to breweries, because I had enough contacts that I could probably do like, 10, 12 episodes and just talk to the brewer at that place. Well, the initial idea was I'd bring a comedian with me. We'd drink a flight of beer and review it and talk and joke around. And then at the end, we'd give them a chance to like advertise or whatever. And they're like, wait, can we be there while you guys drink the beer? And I was like, no, that's not the point. And then like I went to the second place and like, can we be there while you drink the beer? And it just began. I'm like, oh, everybody wants to be here for this. Okay, great. We'll do it that way. And it's just been super easy ever since. I don't know why. But, yeah. So that's how I got into it.
Sometimes we find our calling, and sometimes our calling finds us.
Yeah. I mean, my dad sent me a bunch of tapes of me doing like fake radio interviews when I was like 4 years old. So I've been doing this
for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I got into a job where I had to do interviews, and I'm just like, yeah, this is. I say I use the skill for evil for my day job, and then I use it for good at the podcast.
There you go.
So, yeah, that's how I got into this, and it's great, and I love it, and it's been very strange to pivot away from that in-person personal thing where we're having a pint and like shooting the shit. That's very fun, and it's very different here. This has been great, just so we're clear. This has been great. It's just not the same as being face-to-face, having a beer and experiencing the environment and being like, do you see this person over there? Let's talk, like just having these other things that can bring in conversational bits. But also it's been great to like, I'm doing movie reviews, beer movie reviews, and like, sports and like all these other side interests. I'm like, I can do that. I've like reached out to people across like in other countries. I'm like, hey, do you want to do this thing? Like people I would never have a chance to talk to if I kept doing it in person. I've been able to reach out and do that. Like today I emailed a musician I love who's got a new album out, but he's in Britain. And I'm like, hey, I see you have no PR guy. I do a podcast. You're a musician. You probably drink beer. Let's do this thing. And he's like, yeah, let's do that. And then I'm like, okay, that's like the third time that's happened. Like even when I was doing it in person. So I was like, because I used to, I have family in Maine. So every time I'd go to Maine, I would like DM Stephen King, just on the off chance Stephen King's down to do this podcast. Because he sells the book rights to make him into a movie for $1. And from what I can tell, he enjoys beer. So all it's got to be is just getting through that muck. And I'm probably in. So
that's one of those, I think that's probably another silver lining of all this, like learning new ways to connect with people and connecting in ways that you may not otherwise have done. Like I think once we can get together again, we'll all get together. Yeah. But I think some of this will persist, will remain. You'll go, oh, just because they're in Britain doesn't mean I can't reach out to them. And there's that. I think that wall has crumbled a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been very fun. And it's like, it's just, you just shoot your shot and you see what happens. You might miss. It's fine. If you hit half of them, you're a legend. So to me, I've just been doing that. I'm just like, let's figure out if this works and if this is a thing that's even practical. And if it works out, great. And if it doesn't, you're like, well, I learned something and I can, refine the approach or whatever it is. And that's the same thing with beer. Like, and especially now, like, is this the way to market this beer? Is this the way to market the beer? Yeah. Is this how you teach students at home when they're on their computers and don't have the attention span?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been a huge change because it's very different from teaching in person. And fortunately, the school got money from the state to train some of us over the summer because we were just kind of thrown into it in March. It was like, okay, now we're teaching online. It's like, I've never taught an online class before. I've been TAing or lecturing for 8 years now. Back then it was 7.
Yeah.
That was or beginning of 8. I don't know. I can't count.
Time means nothing anymore.
You get it like a college, like an advanced degree, and it's just like I don't know what numbers are anymore. Computers do all the numbers for me. But yeah, I was kind of thrown into it, and just it's so different. But you still want to connect with people. But I think it is in some ways like there are a lot of benefits because you can offer things in a variety of different ways. Whereas if you just have students that are in a classroom, you can do some stuff, but you're kind of limited. Students have jobs, they have families, and being online, maybe they can't attend it when it's live, but they can watch the recording afterward, and they still learn. They see their peers, interacting with each other or asking questions, even though they're, trying to earn a living, they still get that benefit. I mean, I still think in person, it's highly beneficial, but it's been really interesting to learn like different techniques for getting students engaged. And I do think it has been beneficial for some people because now they have, it's a little bit easier on them.
So what's the game that people are playing students are playing simultaneous to being on Zoom. It's that one where there's like you're part of a team, but then there's like a bad guy.
It's called,
you got to figure out which one it is.
It's called Among Us. I've never played it, but I know it's huge.
I think it's sort of like 12 to 20 or something. It's like a pretty young demographic, but it's it feels like it's a new Fortnite. It's not Fortnite, but it's like it's
the new big thing.
Yeah, it's the big thing.
Yeah, it's nuts. And I always forget this part. Every time it comes up where I'm talking to a professor or a teacher, I'm like, oh yeah, I got experience with building stuff and gardening and D&D. I'm like, oh yeah, a bunch of my family is educators. And I always forget that to like the very end. I'm like, oh yeah. My sister's going through that stuff right now, trying to figure out how to like teach from home. I've got like a million teacher friends and they're all like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. I get screenshots of like what kids are doing and it's either like super cute and like, oh, look, they use technology in this wonderful way. Or like, this is a kid that's masturbating on our webcam right now. And it's like, no one.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine teaching like younger students. That's I've heard stories of my friends who have kids and they're doing Zoom, and I'm like, I can't, like, in a Zoom full of like 35-year-olds sounds like my personal hell.
I'm sorry, I should clarify that I'm not getting screenshots of the actual masturbating. All right. No, they don't exist as far as I know. I hope they don't.
Just stories.
Yeah, just stories of it. The screenshots are the cute stuff. The cute stuff I get screenshots of, or the videos. That's what I meant. The whole, God damn it. I was doing so good. And then that.
When lockdown first started, we've done a bunch of virtual tap rooms, some very beer related. Just, we're doing a beer release, get some beer fans together, and some more serious, like we've done ones with the chief of police and the DA and the mayor about like community policing and, when George Floyd was murdered, we've done a whole bunch of different things. Then one we did with the mayor, just the mayor and then some other sort of like civic dignitaries. And of course, like at the very start of the Zoom, there was the naked guy jumping around. We got Zoom bombed. And it was like, but it had happened a few times already, so it wasn't even bad. It was like, oh, look, there it is. Okay, check. We've done that. Yeah. Now let's just move on and actually have our virtual tap room.
Yeah. I remember I did back in 2016 or early 2017, I started a political podcast for a second. And like one of the first things I did was that the person in control of ICE came to Sacramento to give a talk. And so I contacted SAC PD, like, hey, can I come here and record this audio myself? Is there any way to like go into the soundboard or anything like that? And I'm a reporter at this point in time. I'm just gathering information, not interviewing. I'm not doing anything. I'm just recording this thing and I'm there for posterity. And during the meeting, this Holocaust survivor goes up and gives a talk about like what America is really facing right now and how it compares to Nazi Germany. And I'm like, I'm a reporter. I'm a professional, and I'm going to be stoic and not comment on things. And then the news came out, and the cameras were all facing me. All the pictures that were taken, all the video, just me, one man, nonplussed by Holocaust survivor.
Jeez.
I'm like, don't react. This is an unemotional experience. It's just me, but like, I'm not like, oh no, or like happy, like no reaction. I'm like, okay, that was maybe for a second we dropped that for the things that are actually emotional. Maybe show some. You don't have to be a professional the entire time, and it's like in the newspaper. It's on the news. And I'm just like. So many people messaged me like, I saw you. What's up with your face? Like, I was a reporter, non-biased. I was just.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, so learn not to do it that way. Also, that podcast failed very quickly. But anyway, fun story about the time that I was the worst person in the room. All right, you guys, this podcast, this has been a lot of fun talking about all kinds of different stuff. I really want to thank you for doing that. So I've got two final questions. First question, anybody can take it and go. What do you want listeners to know or do, like as far as your business, what you're up to, or just for them, just for something you think people should be doing more of right now?
Well, that's a big open-ended question, man.
That's why I did it.
I mean, it's a really loaded question because as much as I want to pack our tasting room and have a lot of our fans come back again. There are a tremendous number of restaurants, corner stores, et cetera, that are really struggling, and you can kind of support ourselves, East Brother and your corner store or restaurant or whatever by going out, not doing a delivery service, doing actual pickup, ordering the cocktails to go, or, put a mask on, go to your corner store and, buy your favorite beer, and make it happen. It's, the longer this goes on, it's really becoming more of an inconvenience than, back to reality. I know myself, I've gotten out of my car and be like, and halfway to the door of the store and be like, oh crap, I forgot my mask, and have to turn around back to the car and get a mask. But, if you're going out to your local restaurant and getting to go, picking it up yourself and buying a 4-pack of whoever's beer along the way, you're doing a whole lot of people, service and showing your support. And, we'll do everything we can do to survive. And, if we can help the little guy survive along the way, even the better. It's life's different, but we can still accomplish what we were seeking to do. And, great. You don't have to do dishes when you go out to a restaurant, but I really like this restaurant. I'm going to do to go and pour my beer in my own glass, eat off my own silverware, placeware, whatnot, and make it happen.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul. I did realize I said, what should they do? Which was a very terrible question. I apologize. I meant, what do you think people should know that maybe they haven't thought of or considered that you want to pass on and impart to people?
We do a whole bunch of seasonal series, and almost every month we're coming out with a new one. So if you're picking up a 6-pack variety pack, you're going to get our 5 core styles and whatever the latest and greatest seasonal you will have at curbside. Our tap room, we have 10 taps at the tap room, and they've been full the entire time. So you're going to get a great variety of what we can offer. And rotational. So you're going to see stuff that's kind of, only going to last, what used to be a weekend or two, but now, you're going to get something unique, even if you stop by once a month, we're doing our best to keep the variety out there, and, come on out, enjoy your favorites, and, try something new, and, have some fun, wear a mask, and we'll show up, and we can shout obscenities to each other wearing masks.
Yes.
So it's all good.
Exactly. And so here I was thinking that we were being treated like kings and queens, Amanda, with this mixed 6-pack that you guys had me pick up. And here it is that you guys are offering this to the general public. You've got mixed 6-packs for everybody. No brewery's doing this. Everybody's like, you got to buy our 4-pack. It's $20. You get 4 of the same beer. And you're like, no. We know what you want. You want a variety of beers from the people you know and love. Great job.
We're also doing a festival in a box. So if you are a part of, kind of a limited program, you're getting 6 beers, a pretzel necklace, a sampler glass. It's just like going to GABF or any of these beer festivals where they're going to let you loose with 2-ounce samples and a cheap plastic glass and a pretzel necklace and go. So yeah, you can really experience East Brother with a 6-pack and a sample glass and a pretzel necklace and a bunch of stickers and swag, and Thursday night D&D, a party night.
Yeah. Now,
wink, nudge. How many people do you get in your group?
But I would suggest a life-size cardboard cutout of one of you, so that way the brewer's there, you can ask them questions, and you can listen to this podcast, and they'll answer them for you. It's all there.
I always thought I had a face fit for radio, so we'll do a cardboard cutout of Rob.
And then Rob,
I'm just, you know what? What he said. Paul said it perfectly. He's like, come support East Brother, find us out in the world. But really, it's going to be the next, not to end on a grim note, but like the next few months are going to be tough. It's cold. Outdoor dining's tough. Do we go indoors? Like, who knows what's happening? But just in any way you can, whether it's takeout, whether you're comfortable going, or support your local restaurant, bar, bottle shop, liquor store, whatever. Just think about the small business. It's gonna be tough. So Paul said it perfectly. So.
Yeah. And Amanda, what do people need to know that they aren't thinking about when in the world of gaming, in the world of education, in the world of beer, actually I'll get to that next. Go.
Just everything. I don't know. Man.
It's hard out there.
I don't. Yeah. I don't know.
That's fine.
I guess my thing would be it's hard for all of us right now, so kind of be patient. I just be nice to people.
Yeah.
Because we're all struggling and we've all got different things that are going on. Just be nice to people wherever you are.
Yeah, for me,
I'll support that.
Yeah, do what you can, when you can, how you can. Mm-hmm. That's really easy points there. So last question. This one's much easier. Almost no thinking is what I always think, but it always ends up stumping the people, and I should really warn you in advance, and I didn't. I'll start with Amanda to give you guys time to think about this. Amanda, okay. Where can people find you? What do you got going on if they want to learn more about Amanda Glynn, Dr. D&D? Also, you have a beer coming out.
Yes. I'm on social media, but not very big on it. So, yeah. Mostly just use Twitter to yell at politicians. That's my favorite pastime.
Angry fists.
Yes. I do have a beer coming out. Me and some friends brewed a beer in collaboration, a New Zealand Pilsner with Flatland that I think the beginning of December should be coming out. Andrew and Mac would know more about that, but that one's I'm really excited for that, using an Italian malt and New Zealand hops, a mix, and then there's definitely going to be some Nelson in there. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. Now, do you have a name for this beer? Is it going to any sort of charity or anything like that?
It's called, I think it's just called New Zealand Pilsner. And they're always, whenever we do collaborations, we always, some of the proceeds go to a local SPCA or animal shelter. I'm not 100% sure where they're going to this time, but that's always a thing that we try to do. So help out, local animals, and also just sell a really fun beer.
Yeah, get those.
Will that be commercially available around here, Amanda?
It'll be available at the brewery. I don't know what their distro is. I would have to talk to Andrew, the owner.
And they're located where?
Brewer. They're in Elk Grove.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
So we might be able to get some.
Yeah.
Yeah, send some our way. You said the magic word.
Yeah.
Pilsner. So send it. Bring it on.
Yeah. Andrew over at Flatland does incredible things with all styles of beer, but his lagers are legit. And they have a real... I've had them on and mentioned them a few times in the past, and now they have a real brewing system. So I like even better.
They do.
Used to be a Frankenstein's monster brewing setup, and he still made incredible beer.
Yeah, the last collaboration that we did, the Brosidon Batch 4, we brewed at the beginning of July, and then like the week after they got their new brew system, but it was just, the old one was just this hodgepodge of things thrown together, and brewing took the entire day, and I, went last Wednesday to do this beer, and it was just so much quicker. It was so, I basically did nothing. I mean, I did one hop edition and that was it, because that was really all there was to do.
Yeah, so that's very exciting. That'll come out in a few weeks. Look out for it. Flatland Brewing, Elk Grove, California. But we're not here to talk about Flatland Brewing. We're here to talk about East Brother in Richmond. So, Rob, Paul, where can people find out more about East Brother Beer Co.? What do you guys got coming up in the next couple of weeks people should know about? What's the social medias? All that fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's East Brother Beer. Everything's East Brother Beer. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, at East Brother Beer. Brother singular.
Yeah.
As we said, Baltic Porter coming up soon. And then I think the last one before the end of the year, Paul mentioned our lager series. That's Baltic Porter's part of the lager series. The Freighter series, which is big ales. We call it Freighter because we're near the old shipyards in Richmond where they built all the ships in World War II. And Freighter's still kind of come and go. So there's like big ales. And we have a Russian Imperial Stout coming before the end of the year. But yeah, we're in, if you go to our website, there's a beer finder and it'll show all these little, Google map with all the points of distribution. But, we're up and down California. We'll ship beer in California. We'll soon be able to ship it around the country. And actually, I guess one thing to note, not relevant to the people here, but in about 2 weeks, we'll be distributed in Pennsylvania. The first out of state distribution, partnership that we have with the company called Shangy's, which we're very excited about.
That's very cool.
Being on our minds lately. So.
Yeah. See how that goes.
I have a friend who just moved to Philly, so I'll have to tell him.
We will be there.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Shangy's Philly's yard.
Nice. And then the East Brother, it's like, hey, that's our East Brother out there in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. East Brother from the West. And by the way, in case you want to know, like we're named after an island, but most people in the Bay Area don't know, but there is an island with a lighthouse on it in technically San Pablo Bay, north of the Richmond Bridge, called East Brother Island. East Brother Light Station's been there 150 years. Everyone kind of knows, oh yeah, there's like a lighthouse on that rock out there. That's called East Brother Island. So it's an iconic piece of Richmond history that we wanted to, pay homage to.
Okay, perfect. That was one of the questions that I said I was going to ask and then never did. So I'm glad you wrapped it up in a bow.
There you go.
Yeah, and then on Barley Me, you can follow Barley Me across social media at Barley and Me Pod. Email questions, comments, concerns to barleymepodcast@gmail.com, although you can now use barleymepod@gmail.com as well. You check out my Chugs for Charity videos. Those are very fun. I chug a beer. I pick a charity. If you like it, you hate it, you tolerate it, give money to the charity in question every week. New charity. We're doing social justice. We're doing education. We're doing SPCA. We're doing entertainment venues that are struggling. We're doing everything. Service industry workers who are affected by the shutdown. We're doing it all. Just every week a new one. If you do, and it's Chugs 4, number 4 charity. Check it out on your Instagram TVs, your Facebooks, your Twitters. It's all on there every week. New. I used to do it like every few days, and that was bad for me. Yeah, and then if you want to do your own Chugs for Charity, you just tag me at Barley and Me Pod across social media, like I said. And you could be entered to win free beer from my beer cellar at the end of the month. If you chug a Black is Beautiful, you get 2 entries, and you might get fresh beer from me. That's right. That's the kind of thing I'm offering during this shutdown. It's, whatever. Also, just as I remembered now, I always forget, more donations. If you buy a Barley and Me shirt from zenthreads.com, that's zen-threads.com, local Sacramento clothier, they make my shirts. Every penny of profit will be donated to Another Rally, which supports service industry workers affected by the shutdown. That's it. I don't make money from this. I never have. I never will. And I don't care. It's totally fine. Follow me. Do the things. Donate if you can. I know you can't. We're all struggling. I don't care. I'm still going to do it, just in case, on the off chance you have a penny. But whatever. That's my spiel. This is episode, 134? Is that what I said earlier? Episode 134 of Barley and Me with Paul Liszewski and Rob Lightner from East Brother Beer Company in Richmond, California, and Dr. Amanda Glynn. Thanks so much for listening. Stay home safe.